got questions, we got answers. Welcome to Code A Good Game, the show that'll be like to speculate the video games we love and the things happening around the industry surrounding them. I'm your host, Mr. Tony, aka Samurai KBG, and did that intro go okay? First off, I hope. It's been a while. We took a week off last week because I was at PAX West playing a good amount of games. Maybe we can talk about that. But I especially want to know what's been going on in your neck of the woods. Where are you watching from? Are you state, country, bedroom, couch? Where are you watching from tonight? And I hope you are well. And as always, let me know if there's any technical problems. And thank you so much for being here. I am looking forward to. We're going to have a good talk about PlayStation today. I am still a little bit sick. I do not have a guest this week, but we got some really, really juicy PlayStation stuff to talk about. Just two topics. I like this week, and I'm going to be testing this out with you guys too. Like, how many topics do we cover? Do we do a lot of news? Do we just make it just centered around one topic? Who knows? We're still going to have a good game at the end, and I hope we have a good deal of people here, because the more people here, the more fun this game at the end is going to really be. So bring in your friends, bring in your family if you are live. If you are not live and watch the replay, how's it going? And there's currently a poll that I have going for like what PlayStation IP you'd like to see get a multiplayer release, because today we're going to be talking about how Concord, PlayStation's latest bet on the live service game, is, I would argue, the biggest failure PlayStation has ever released. But then also Astrobot is on the totally opposite side of that in terms of critic reviews. But does that even matter? So those are kind of the two topics I want to hit with you today. And at the end, we'll have some. And I would like to also, I'm going to end this poll now and just see what you guys said. There's so far a couple votes. Shockingly, the people that are here early at this stream say in terms of PlayStation IP, you'd like to see get a multiplayer release. I put Killzone, Resistance, Days Gone, and Warhawk. And somehow Warhawk is topping. I did not expect that. This is what I mean. I like the solo shows because I get to just see what you guys are saying. I still do that when we have a guest, but it's like, you know, much more you are the guest. And I want that to be the feel every week on this show. And so far, okay, now people are switching to Killzone as I record this. Well, I'm going to end this part, but throughout the show, I guess it was back and forth between Killzone and Warhawk. But throughout the show, the way this is going to work, we're going to jump into the Concord topic, talk about multiplayer releases and so on. We're going to talk about Astrobot afterwards. And if you have a separate topic, then what I would like you to do is drop it in what I believe, let me make sure I can do this right. Start a Q&A. Ask anything. I'm going to have a Q&A running the whole time where you can just ask any question. It can have to do with Concord. It can also have to do with Astrobot. It could be something else. And I would like to highlight your questions in between the two topics, or maybe more likely towards the end. That's how we're going to do this show. And then after that, we're going to have our good game. So shout out to Carolina, Creature, Ricey, Steffi. Guys, thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate you, and I hope you're having a lovely Friday. I'm trying to scroll up in our chat, and it won't let me. All right, I'm going to do this instead. I am also still sick, and I came back from PAX West. Before we start, is there any questions you have about the things that I saw at PAX West? Or do you... That's the first question. Do you even know what PAX West is? I'm going to do a sound effect. Do you know what PAX West is? No, I went to PAX West this weekend, and it was fun. It is... I went to a lot of panels. I saw Phil Spencer. I got to have a really in-depth talk with an indie developer. I saw a lot of games, and it was a good time. But I interviewed a lot of people about Nintendo, and you might actually see that, as a reel or a short next week. This week, I've kind of taken it easy because I'm recovering from PAX. I got sick, and I have work to do, so if you hear me coughing throughout the stream, that would be why. But the one question submitted so far, did you make a turnaround and shake Freddy's hand? I don't know what you mean by a turnaround, but I did not shake Freddy's hand. If you mean Freddy as in like Freddy from Five Nights at Freddy. No, I did not do that, Supertone. I would never do that. No. Let's talk about Concord. Because there's just... So to set this up, to make this, just so anybody can relate to this, whether you're not a PlayStation person, whether you're not a Nintendo person, whether you're not an Xbox person, Capcom, whoever you are, doesn't matter. Multiplayer games are... I forgot to set my recording, sorry. Multiplayer games really is a cash maker for a lot of publishers right now. That's why a lot of them go free-to-play model. They sell their cosmetics. There's a story about, I think, like a cosmetic in Diablo made more money than the StarCraft 2 DLC did. Multiplayers make bank. And that's why, I think it was last year, we learned that PlayStation was investing 55% of their game development budget into the live service model. They were investing 55% of PS5 game development into live service games. And one of those live service games that they had so much faith in, that they acquired the studio for and backed it, was Concord. And now we have the news that Concord is apparently shutting down. This happened September 3rd this week. This is, if you're watching live, this is a B-roll thing of an important update on Concord. And long story short, if you have not heard, they shut the game down today, September 6th, 2024. And this game released like 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago. It might have been more. But the point is, within a month of release, they made the decision to shut the game down. But an important question, excuse me, again, still sick. They also said they're exploring options, including those that will better reach our players. What does that mean? We will speculate about that in a moment. But while we determine the best path ahead, Concord sales will cease immediately. We're not going to sell any more copies. And we need to go down the venture of refunding everybody that bought it for PlayStation 5 or PC. And reportedly, they sold... Whoops. Sorry. I need to learn to fix... I thought I turned that off. Sorry about that. Okay, come back. There we go. They reportedly sold 25 million copies. 25 million. Sorry, 25,000. 25,000. There are some games out there that Square Enix is like, yeah, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth didn't sell how we wanted. Yeah, Final Fantasy XVI didn't sell how we wanted. And those games sold millions of copies. Concord didn't even break the 6 figures. So what I really ask you and everybody that I'm curious about, that kind of want to... There's so many places we could take this. And I actually do have a back and forth with the Gaming Duo podcast. So if you want a back and forth of me talking about this, plug into them. Their newest episode released today. But for now, just with me and you, what made this happen? And what do you think, I guess the first question is like, PlayStation making this call. It's not even been a month that Concord, this multiplayer live service, hero shooter game, team battle, it hasn't even been a month since it's been released and it gets shut down. But I think it was last year we saw like the live service slaughter, where we saw like Knockout Cities, WrestleMania, I forget what it's called, and I think Avengers, like a lot of games were discontinuing their services after running for like a year or more, but a couple weeks? What do you think was like PlayStation's mindset during this? I see Chef1 in the chat saying, it should have gone free to play, but no. The greed wouldn't let him. It was a cash grab. It's just crazy how many people actually bought that garbage. Now, here's my rebuttal to that, Chef. Because there's two rebuttals I have to that. I don't necessarily disagree, but there's just two conflicting points to that, in my opinion. Is Helldivers 2 free? Is it? Did Helldivers 2 become a really huge success super fast? There's also the point of, is it really bad? Yeah. The reviews for it overall, if you go to Metacritic and OpenCritic, I think I actually have that ready here, it's not doing too hot. It's sitting, if I can pull this up, and hopefully you guys won't hear that intro again. Yeah, it's weak. It's pretty weak. But it's funny because when I heard people that actually are playing the game, they're like, yeah, it's not bad. It plays fine. What I think was the issue is that I see Ricey 300 in the chat. Oversaturated hero shooter games out there. I would agree with that. I think the issue that Concord faced was just that there was just nothing special about it. There was just nothing special about it. But what's really interesting is that right out of the gate, people saw the problem. There was, luckily today, I have like a lot of things kind of ready to show. When the trailer for that state of play that happened, I think in May this year or whenever that happened, when the trailer for that came out, the dislikes for it were huge. This is from Radic, Real Radic on Twitter. I refuse to call it X. Please agree with me in the chat. Do you refuse to call it X? Let me know in the chat. But the current like to dislike ratio between Concord and Astrobot, which are both revealed in the same, they both had a trailer in the same show, is crazy. It's insane. Concord had 1.4 likes to 3.1k dislikes. Astrobot, 11k likes to 95 dislikes. So we have moments in history that people spot stuff. I think let me know if you could think of one. Actually, I would love to know if you could think of one. I think it was like Infinite Warfare, Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. I think I remember that trailer came up and there was so many dislikes. I don't know how well the game sold, but is there any good examples of just like, maybe this is a lesson, like listen to the people. When Sonic had its first movie trailer and you saw how he looked, the fans spoke. And they pushed back the movie to change up his design to make it look way better. And then it became like, it started to usher in that era of, oh, video game adaptations can be good. So maybe that's a lesson, like listen to the people. But just what I think is crazy is that PlayStation made this call within the month of release. It hadn't even been 30 days. So why did they do that? I see Mr. Game saying it was unappealing and uninteresting. Like, so I want you guys to like think, instead of like Concord as a game, think like logistically. Like logistically, what was the, like they had to make the decision. Is it expensive? Was it too expensive to keep the servers running when there just wasn't anybody playing it? Did they decide, hey, let's just cut off, like you guys were developing content for the game too, let's cut that off? Like logistically, why couldn't the game even just get the chance? I feel like it barely even got the chance. I'm not defending it. I'm just saying, like, doesn't that seem a little bit sudden? Am I a little bit alone here? I do appreciate, though, I see Redfall being brought up in the chat, because I have a point about that. C2DD says, it's a better game than Redfall, but there's no reason to buy it. And then Carolina Gamer is responding, saying, Redfall and Concord are completely different games. Not a very good comparison. Carolina, I'm gonna say I think Redfall is a really fair comparison. For a different reason. They are different games. One is a PvE co-op game, and the other is a PvP team versus team game, whatever. Those are two very different games, but something very comparable is that they were both reviewed pretty much the same, like roughly around, I think Concord even got a little bit better reviews, like some 7s out there, but they were both around that 6 out of 10 area. You know, not terrible, but just not good. Yet, something I think is worth noting, and this is what I'm really curious what you think about, you could still buy Redfall. You could still play Redfall. You could hop on it as if it came out yesterday. And they continue to patch the game. I'm not saying that's the right move, and I'm not trying to make Xbox whatever sound awesome, but I'm just noting it. It was a similarly bad reviewed game, but they kept it alive. They kept not the game like audience alive, but they kept the development. They shut down the studio. Granted, that's true. They shut down the studio, so what am I saying? But they did. They shut down the studio that made that game. But I think that's worth noting. And it makes me almost wonder, again, the logistical question that I'm really curious about, the logistical part of this. Is it just because it seemed like it was a money pit? And it's kind of making me, and I don't want to sound like a shill here or anything like that. I really don't. But I really wonder if Game Pass kind of creates that safety cushion to keep things going. Now, that might not be true because, again, we lost Tango Gameworks, we lost Arcane Austin, we lost Alpha Dog, like that happened. So it's not like, Xbox is in the clear, but I'm just saying, I wonder if Game Pass is kind of the reason that they're like, okay, we'll keep it up. Game Pass is helping to sustain our efforts to keep all of our first parties running. Do you think that's possible? And it's just like, because PlayStation doesn't have that model, that safety cushion, they just thought it's too expensive to keep these servers running. This game is not selling like we thought we would. We literally haven't even cracked 6 figures in the 2 weeks it's been out. And these guys are still developing for it. We have to make a call. Do we see this ship being saved? It's tough. I see you guys responding to the Twitter comment I said earlier. I see your comments on that. Steffi, people who call it X belong in Organization 13. Hey, what's wrong with Organization 13? Come on now. I see Sauron Grant. Concord was canceled prematurely to change the narrative onto Astrobot. So we're going to get to Astrobot in a moment. But Sauron, that's a good point. That's a pretty interesting point. Like, perhaps I don't know if I personally buy that, but it's a theory. It is ironic enough that they shut down the Concord servers the day that Astrobot comes out. That is a little bit interesting. But I guess, okay, so I got 2 other things that I kind of want to shoot at you. Is one, there's a lot. Like, there's so many places. Like one more thing about the Xbox thing is, like, I'm really curious. Does anybody here, and if you're listening to the replay or on Spotify, I'm going to take a moment to pause here because I'm really curious. Does anybody live or listening to this remember the game Bleeding Edge? Does anybody remember this game? Let me know in the chat. Do you know what this game is, Bleeding Edge? As I just kind of look at these, because C2 says, yeah, Ann's Lawbreakers. And Carolina nailed it. I see Carolina in the chat saying, you can still play Bleeding Edge. You can still play Bleeding Edge. Bleeding Edge is a game that, like, one of the newer studios, very similar to Firewalk, that the people that made Concord. This is a game that Ninja Theory developed, and it was like their first game that they released under like the Xbox Game Studios banner. It did not review good. It was another like hero shooter at the time, PvP, and not hero shooter. They had like multiple kinds of characters that you play as. A neat concept, but kind of like Concord, just nothing that like gravitating about it, you know? And it came out in 2016, almost 10 years ago. And you know what? You can still buy and play this game. And it reviewed poorly. So that's kind of my that's kind of a logistical big point that I really wonder is like, I just wonder if shutting a game, has anybody heard of anything like this? This is why this is huge, because whether you're not into PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, whatever, whether you didn't care about Concord, have you ever heard of anything shutting down within weeks of launch? When it's a multiplayer-focused game from a AAA publisher? Have you ever heard of that? C2 brings up a good point. Can you find any matches, though? Probably not. You know, the player base is down, but it's like, at least it's still an option. But, and again, I see C2 also saying Blue Protocol never even got off the ground. Dang, I forgot about Blue Protocol. But that's different. Like that's something like cutting things off before they've begun. That's different. But after releasing it, I don't know. Carolina says it had one player as its 24-hour peak. That's wild, man. But so that's I don't know. Like I don't know. Like that's why I'm saying I wonder logistically if just Game Pass helps provide that safety cushion for first-party titles to stay on market. Or maybe PlayStation did the morally right thing. Maybe. Let me know where you guys sit. Like, was that a better call to just be like, hey, nobody's hopping on this. Let's just cut our losses, give refunds, stop selling the game, and move on? Do you think, like, they chose the morally high ground with that? And Mr. Gamer, the numbers were abnormally low. They were absolutely, for a brand new first party from PlayStation, like, it's nuts, man. C2, I think shutting down and refunding is the honorable, because a month from now, you essentially can't play it anyways. Yeah. Maybe, who knows, maybe it's like they found themselves in like they knew if the game even sold another 10,000 copies, it just would have made the refund process harder. Who knows? Carolina Gamer shutting down Concord was the right choice. I don't know, man. I really sympathize for these developers, first off. Like, I really sympathize for them, because maybe they thought they had something amazing and they've been working on it for like 8 years. And that's really, like, for any creator, no matter how good or bad their product was, this is a really painful thing. I can't even imagine something like that happening. Like, that's so sad to me. Not in like a belittlement sad, but just like sympathy. Like, that's really tough. And I really hope that studio, I don't know, like, this was supposed to be their first big hit, being with PlayStation. Like they've been working on this for a while, and I don't think the studio has much of a track record. So this was their chance. So I really wonder what happens to them next. And my final point that I kind of want to bring to you guys is, you know, this game was part of a strategy from PlayStation. This was part of a strategy that, like, again, last year in July, they announced, let's put 55% of our development budget to developing live service games. Since then, And before that, by the way, they got Firewalk, this studio. They got Haven. They got Bungie. They were gearing up for that. And now, and they had Naughty Dog working on Last of Us Factions. But then after that announcement, in December last year, Naughty Dog's Last of Us Online got canceled. We have seen Bungie scale down by like 40%. They are shutting down Concord within weeks of release. What happens to Fair Game? What happens to this rumored Horizon project? What happens to these other, I think, like dozen titles or half dozen titles that they hope to release by March 2026 that are all live service? What happens to Marathon? Like, the only indicator that this was a good idea was Helldivers 2. And that's my point again. It doesn't have to be free to play. I tell people all the time, I'm really curious how Halo Infinite would have gone if it wasn't free to play. I really wonder. I don't think free to play is an instant, like, that needs to happen to make a game work. And Helldivers 2 proved that. Palworld proved that as two very successful game stories this year that were multiplayer games. They do not need to be free to play to be successful. And I wonder what the new plan is. Carolina, why keep losing money, though? They would have never broke even. And maybe that was the call. Maybe Carolina, because they did spend a lot on Concord, and maybe that was the call, too. Like, let's just cut this hole off. C2, it reminds me of that Crash Bandicoot Versus game that they were charging $30 or $40 for. It's obvious it's not going to sell well. I don't know. I want to look into the figures of that game, because I don't know if that sold well or not. Creature, with how disliked it was, probably best to let it go quickly. Supertone, I don't have much knowledge, but it feels bad for all the work to go to waste. Yeah, it feels bad, man. Steffi, maybe because many people are struggling financially right now, anything generic that's not free to play is not worth it to buy over other games. Good point. Got to save money to buy Astrobot. Very good point. Never got to play it, so I don't know what makes it so much more uninteresting than other games. And there's been people all over the chat that have been saying that, but my answer to that is just, it just, and if you want, I want to wrap this up and move to Astrobot, but just, I talk about that a little briefly in the Gaming Duo podcast episode I was just in with Rob and Kelvin, and it just, you think of Overwatch and how flushed out they made each of those characters and just making them all have some amazing short film attached to each of them and really establishing this is the world that like heroes are once a thing, but they're now retired, and really like making this interesting universe. If it's a hero shooter or like Marvel Rivals, for instance, you're relying on IP of very well recognized people. It's like, if it's a hero shooter or hero versus game, you really have to make those heroes stand out. And that first trailer that they did that, it did not feel like that. It felt super generic. And for that, it just didn't feel like something special when you could just play Overwatch 2 for free. Or you could go play Marvel Rivals or whatever else. So, Carolina, it makes me wonder how much money will PlayStation lose because of Jim Ryan pushing games as a service. Yeah, I have a feel maybe this is part of like just a course correction. Who knows? Like maybe this is a big course correction. And one more message from some C2. One thing I'll say is Sony got rid of their CEO for a reason, and we're seeing it now and next year. Maybe like that I don't want to assume, but that was a thought that came to my mind, is like maybe that was part of why Jim Ryan left. Maybe that was a thing where it's like, But at the time, they couldn't really assess that, Like, at the time, I don't know. That's definitely, that's a stretch, but we'll see. We'll see. One more fun question, and I want to really see answers to this. If you could have any PlayStation IP get a new multiplayer game, a modern multiplayer game, what would it be? I asked that before the stream as a poll. It seemed like it was back and forth between Killzone and Warhawk. I can't believe you guys know Warhawk, but that's the thing. PlayStation could make some great multiplayer IP. They have great IP. But what makes a good multiplayer? I think Horizon could be a great competitor to Monster Hunter. I think Killzone, if they brought that back, could be a neat shooter. Resistance, Fall of Man would be a fantastic thing, but I hear the creative director for that doesn't want to be involved anymore. I am so happy to see that there were some people that recognized Warhawk. I thought I was alone there because Warhawk, that was a super niche game. Not really niche. I don't know. Does anybody remember Warhawk? Because that was like, I know from the PlayStation 3. I don't know if there was games before it, but the PlayStation 3 Warhawk, that was fun. I think you could have like 100 players in that. That was crazy. I see Carolina saying SOCOM. What does SOCOM stand for? I've seen that so many times, I don't remember what it is. Mr. Gamer says Killzone for sure, even though I never played it. Yeah, me neither. I never played Killzone, but I always like thought it looked cool. C2 says Monster Hunter Horizon would be cool. I'm not too attached to Resistance or Killzone. I do like a Horizon game that's like a multiplayer Monster Hunter. That could totally work. And I think that's actually reportedly in development. We just haven't seen it officially announced yet. It's probably part of those like dozen titles that they're working on, but we'll see when it happens. Okay. Folks, we're going to have a good game in a moment, and I hope you're submitting questions. If you would like to talk about something that isn't PlayStation related or just another topic for me to just speculate on and hopefully get us to speculate on, please leave it in the Ask Anything Q&A. Do you see that? Let me know if you see that, if you're here in the live chat. If you're listening to the replay, do not worry about it. Let's hope that somebody submits something fun to talk about. But for now, my most anticipated game for the front half of 2024 was Hellblade 2. But then we got a nice little state of play that not only revealed Concord, but also my most anticipated game for the back half of 2024. And while Concord failed, this other game did not fail. And that is Astrobot, man. Astrobot has finally released, and if you don't know who Astrobot is, he had a VR game for the PS4. He had his tech demo, sort of mini teeny game, just included in the PS5, kind of like Wii Sports was for the Wii. And folks, it not only is reviewing very well, it is now the highest reviewed game of the year. No joke. So here's Astrobot, and I have OpenCritic. I personally like OpenCritic more. It's pretty much the same on Metacritic right now. But on OpenCritic, Astrobot as this 3D platformer adventure game is sitting, and there's a reason I want to dive into this fully, because again, there's a lot to kind of open the doors to this and what it might lead to, because Astrobot is currently sitting at 95 on OpenCritic in terms of its critic reviews. But get this also. It is not only in the Hall of Fame on OpenCritic, it is the highest reviewed game over Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It is sitting at 95 as the highest reviewed game of the year on OpenCritic. And if you go to Metacritic, it is sitting at a 94, I believe, on OpenCritic. Or sorry, Metacritic. I'm mixing them all up. The only game on Metacritic that's higher than it is a DLC, being Shadows of the Erdtree. And I think it's just like the same score, 94 or 95. It's pretty much the same, but just new titles. Astrobot is now the highest reviewed game of the year, and I am so excited about that. And it's not about, and I do see Creature in the chat saying, you play it? No, I did buy it today, but I did get to play it at PAX. For like 2 minutes. It was ridiculous. But the reason I want to bring this up, because I don't want to just say, okay, cool, it reviewed well. End of story. You know me. And I really like to speculate certain things. And we don't know if this game is going to sell well. And I'd like to ask you if you think it's how well Just throw numbers out there. How many copies do you think this game will sell? Because even if a game is reviewed incredibly well, sadly, money talks. Sadly. Money really determines it. It really bums me out, but that is the truth. And even though it's the highest reviewed game of the year, what I really hope is that this game sells well and sends a message to not only PlayStation, but the entire AAA publisher industry. Do not let cartoony platformer IP die. Do not let cartoony IP platformer die. Like, let's say that 3 times fast. Like, chant it. I did a video towards the end of 2021 that none of you watched, or maybe you did. It was a video I was very proud of, and I was talking about how Psychonauts 2 and Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart being nominated for Game of the Year that year was amazing. Because the past decade, I would say, we've really been catering to these realistic graphics, really like open worlds, and just going this direction of video games that really test the hardware. And yet, you see Xbox fans clamoring, when the hell are you going to do a Banjo thing? Even Phil Spencer knows it. He literally even said, like, I've heard you, Banjo fans. Can't say anything right now. And it's just, we see Insomniac now becoming like this, potentially, according to the leaks, this Marvel studio, apparently, making Venom, making Spider-Man, making Wolverine, maybe potentially making X-Men, was that another one? Instead of the things that they used to make. And it's just something that we only see Nintendo being the champions of. We don't see anybody but Nintendo being champions of this. And yet Nintendo is like the highest sold console of all time. They keep releasing games left and right and printing money, and it's working for them. So money talks, but yet they make good reviewed games, and their games sell well. I see some in the chat predicting how much Astrobot will sell. See Supertone saying 3 million. See Carolina saying maybe 2. Patrick Cervantes, I'm messing up that name, says, I think it could sell at least 5 million. So here's the thing with those guesses, guys. I came across this article that, like, I could do a full video about this article, and maybe I will, or maybe I'll just pull this off the stream. I don't know. But a very awesome reporter, in my opinion at least, in the industry, is Jason Schreier. And he put up this article on on Bloomberg that I think is really interesting. PlayStation's Astrobot is a model for the video game industry. Subtext, the critically acclaimed game, set to be a breakout hit, was made by a team of only 60 people. And the article goes on, but I'm going to tell you right now, I read only bits and pieces of it. 60 people over the course of 3 years. It's the highest reviewed game of the year. It's a first-party published, developed game. From an IP that's not M-rated, super realistic graphics, so drama. 60 people over 3 years. Now, granted, in the article, they even bring it up, like, now granted, we did have the base floor of what we did with Astro VR and Astro's Playroom. Like, they definitely had that, like, cushion. So, maybe it would have taken another year, maybe 2. So that is fair. But then, that actually lines up with, like, Toys for Bob. If you know Toys for Bob, they're the people that were with Activision, now independent. They were the people that made, like, Skylanders, Crash Bandicoot 4, the remasters of Crash Bandicoot and Spyro. And, that's that studio. That was, like, Activision's platformer studio. They released that Crash Team versus Rumble, whatever, in 2023. They released Crash Bandicoot 4, I believe, in 2020. 2 years before that, they released the Crash Bandicoot remasters. 2 years before that, there was a Skylander game. And it makes me, and they also have a team around 80 people. This really makes me think. We hear how Horizon Forbidden West was made by a team of hundreds, and it was this beautiful open world game. It took them 5 years, and it cost like over $200 million to make. And you hear about, I don't know, something else costing like $300 million to make by a team with hundreds of staff. And even home turf, I love Halo. 343 was one of like the biggest studios at Xbox. They laid a lot of them off, and I'm actually kind of cool with that because it's focusing up the team. I think this is potentially a really good read. I haven't read the whole thing, admittedly. I was kind of preparing before this, and I had car troubles today. But, like, this is a good point. Concord was an expensive online shooter developed by hundreds of people at an estimated 9-figure budget. Greenlit as part of PlayStation's effort to chase the Fortnite dragon of a live service games that can be monetized years after release. The game received mediocre reviews. It was played by almost nobody. Meanwhile, while Concord feels symbiotic of the industry's woes, Astrobot feels like a model for a more sustainable future. It was developed by a team of 60 people in 3 years, a stark contrast to the 6-year production staffed by thousands of employees that have become common in recent times. Rather than chasing endless gameplay, preach that shit, Astrobot is delightfully compact and can be completed in around a dozen hours. A godsend for busy parents or people with massive gaming backlogs. There's nothing wrong with the game being less than 20 hours. There's nothing wrong with having a more smaller condensed team making something much more compact and focused. And there's nothing wrong with keeping 3D platformers alive. I'm really passionate about this one, man. Like, I might port this rant. I'm really passionate about this. And it's so pleasing to see Astrobot is now like the highest reviewed game of the year. But will it sell well? Can we get a damn Banjo game? Can we get a damn Sly Cooper? Can we get even just new cartoony looking IP? Can we get a grip? I'm serious about this one, man. I really am. Now I'm going to stop to see what you think. Because I'm serious. This means a lot to me, man. Because I want the industry to figure out these ballooning budgets that they're doing, these long development cycles that they're doing, and just figure out what is Insomniac and Obsidian doing that they can have a consistent cadence of releasing something every couple of years. Granted, maybe that's because they built their teams up and they have like 4 different teams at once developing different things. That's probably it. But I also think these smaller condensed teams, like, they just help. Like, if Halo Infinite was developed by like 400 people for like $500 million, but Halo 7 is developed by like 150, and even that, staff numbers does not make a good game. One of the highest reviewed games of the year is this game, Animal Well. Let me make sure of this. Animal Well is one of the highest reviewed games of the year. It's an indie game. It's at an 89 on OpenCritic, but it's in 2024's Hall of Fame. And you know what? That was developed by a person with a handful of people that helped him. Games do not need to be this couple hundred people studio venture. Games do not need to be filled with fetch quests, side quests, and just content to keep the player around for 60 plus hours. Final Fantasy XVI did not need to have those filler things in between the great story things. I'm really passionate about this one, man. I just, it means a lot to me. So, but am I wrong? Like, am I wrong? Please let me know. Like if you disagree, that's totally fine. I do think content matters. I do think like the value of $1 matters. Like I'm hearing some people say Astrobot maybe just can be done in like 6 to 10 hours and it's a $60 game. That's fair, you know, but like, I don't know, man. I do think the value of $1 matters. I do think like if it is $50, then it should be like a 10 to 15 hour game, maybe at most, or you know what? I don't know. That's a whole debate, but Mr. Gamer says I couldn't agree more. A lot of people share your sentiment with Astrobot. It would be a big deal for Sony if it's a hit. Not only is it an incredible platformer in general, it's a love letter for all things PlayStation. It is. It is. It really is. It's a love letter to PlayStation, that's for sure. Patrick Cervantes, I hope it sells well. After hearing about Crash 5 getting canceled, yeah, I heard about that too, man. Hearing about a new platformer getting rave reviews is refreshing to see. It is, man. A platformer released by, like, a AAA team, technically. Like, maybe they didn't have the AAA budget, and that's another point that Jason Schreier says in his article is, like, yeah, is this game going to rake in billions of dollars? Probably not. But because it was by a smaller team, the profit margin is a little bit less than it needs to be. I do hear Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I think it like just barely, if at all, actually managed to reach its development budget in sales, which is really sad. Because that's an awesome game too. I saw somebody say it was pretty mid, and I'm like, dude. So far, spoilers, that has been my favorite game of this generation. I thought that game was amazing, and I'm really sad to hear it didn't sell well. And that's why I'm saying, I hope this isn't a similar case to Rift Apart. I hope this isn't one of those games that reviews super well, but doesn't sell that great. Hopefully, its development budget was pretty modest. I actually had, oh man, in my Game Pass video, I had like a calculator of how I could calculate a game developer's salary, and with that we could actually figure out the budget. Shit, I need to look at that video because I'll figure it out. I'll put a tweet about it. Because, yeah, Mr. Gamer, literally everything you're saying was why Astrobot was so hyped the way it was. I think that was the thing. Like when Concord happened, it just seemed like the more of everything we're getting nowadays. But when you see Astrobot getting a full-blown game from PlayStation of all people, and this isn't a Nintendo Direct, but we're seeing this super good graphic polished platformer cartoony character being released by a AAA person, it stood out to us because we don't see that anymore. Carolina Gamer, how well did Vampire Survivor do with sales? That's a good question. I don't know. The game has with almost 7 million in sales during the first month of its full release on Steam. I'm assuming that game didn't have a terribly big budget because it was pretty indie, correct? Or am I wrong about that? It was reported that it sold 2.5 million copies. If you are an indie developer and you cross the million mark, I promise you that is an achievement. Like, indie developers are happy if they get like in the 5 figures of games sold. C2 says it's probably around 10 million for Vampire Survivor. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But I'm really hoping this sends a message to the whole industry, truly. Like, I really hope so. And I am so excited for Astrobot. I bought it before the stream. I had to take care of some car troubles before this. And while I was out, I grabbed the game. I like having my games for the PlayStation 5 physically because I feel like I'm just doing nothing but digital with Game Pass on the Xbox. So I'm excited to have Astrobot in my hands. And I'm going to play it tonight, and I am so thrilled about it, getting such good reviews. But I especially hope it sends this message to the industry, man. And I really encourage looking into that Jason Schreier article. Let me plug it in again. It's PlayStation's Astrobot is a model for the video game industry. So seriously, I'm gonna read this. I'm gonna read this article afterwards because I have a feeling this is a really good read for this just small team that developed this game over 3 years, and it is hitting critically hard. Okay. Those are the two topics I especially wanted to bring, and now I pose it to you, the chat. If you have submitted anything, please let me know. I don't see anything submitted. I don't think so. If I did the thing right, let me know. But otherwise, I'm just here right now. So but I especially want to know that for sure if it's there. And also, I forgot, we're gonna do a good game. That the more the merrier. We currently have over a dozen people watching, so good job. Because the more the merrier. We're gonna do a trivia game where you guys are all going to collectively work together. It is not guess the theme, but you guys collectively, you'll understand what I mean, and you guys are gonna you're gonna chew each other out too, because of how it's gonna work. C2, I think I submitted a question but can't tell. Yeah, I can't tell either, admittedly. Let me make absolute certain. I believe I submitted a question at the beginning. I don't know why that doesn't work. I see a post that says, like, I just saw something from, like, MSN. September 6th is a very mixed day for PlayStation. That's so true. Today is a very mixed day for PlayStation. Like, well, I don't know why I can't see the questions, gang, but I guess just ask it again if you don't mind. I don't know. What if I say end? This will move all questions in the question list. No, I don't want to do that. I don't know. I guess that feature doesn't work. It doesn't let me see it, so my bad. So yeah, let me just take five minutes or so here to just hit some questions, and then I want to play a game that you all have to work together for. Yeah, this is annoying because I can't see the because I like this thing. There's like a Q&A option in the live chat, and oh wait, no, I know why. I got it. Okay, I got the questions. Got it. Sorry, I got it. Okay. So, let me just see some of these questions here. Creature, do you think the designs in Concord were lackluster? Yes, very much so. I don't think the designs were bad. It's just that it seemed so similar to and I would love the chat to answer that too. They just seemed so similar to Guardians of the Galaxy, and just, I don't know, they just didn't feel that inspired or unique. So yeah, I would say yes to that. And that definitely plays a part in the whole situation. Ricey, did you play the new Power Rangers beat 'em up game? I did not. I saw that at PAX. There was people playing it. I did not, but it looks cool. Steffi, most notable people or cosplay you came across at PAX West. Most notable people or cosplay you came across at PAX West. I mean, I came across Low-Key Matt. You guys have seen him once on the channel. Low-Key Matt is he and I did a Kingdom Hearts. When is Kingdom Hearts 3 or 4 gonna show its trailer again? We did that video like a month or two ago. I just it wasn't planned. I just saw him, which was nuts. So that was definitely the most memorable moment. But the cosplay, I don't remember one being super like wowsy bowsy, but I think the most standout moment was definitely just out of nowhere, just seeing Low-Key Matt going to the same panel that I was going to. This is a good question. C2, what are your guesses for the 6 Game of the Year nominees? I kind of want to hold on to that, C2, because we're going to have a Codename Good Game towards the Game Awards season. So that means we'll do this next month, probably. Like the first one of November or maybe the last one of October. We're going to have a Codename Good Game episode that I'm really excited about. And I don't think I want to spoil because it has to do with that. So I don't want to say yet. But I will say I think PlayStation exclusives definitely have a good chance this year, and that's all I'm gonna say. I'm not getting to all of these, but I will say Boa Hancock creature to who's more beautiful, Boa Hancock or Medusa. Sauron Grant, will Astrobot hype last more than 2 weeks, and will it sell? I mean, that's kind of what I was asking everybody, like what they predict or think Astrobot might sell in terms of game numbers. I saw a lot of people guessing like in the single digit millions. I think by the end, I'm hoping that Astrobot crosses like the 2.5 million mark, and I'm hoping that puts it profitable. But I do think after 2 weeks, yes, the Astrobot hype will definitely end. I think we're just going to see a lot of people having fun this weekend, maybe a little bit into this next week, but I think by next weekend we'll be moving on. I do think that. I'm trying to get at least like everybody to get one. Carolina Gamer, I didn't do one for you. What game impressed you the most while you were there? I'm assuming you mean at PAX. My star of the show. Do I have anything here of it? Do I? Yeah, this is from what was my star of the show, actually. If you don't know what this is. Sorry. The game is called, okay, you can't see it really there, but the game is called Pop U Com, like pop, soda pop, U as in umbrella, com, like .com, but it's all one word. Pop U Com. If you've never heard of it, don't worry, I didn't hear of it either. That's why it was my star of the show, is because like I've never seen it. It looked like a cute little colorful platformer co-op thingy, and I tried it out, and let me tell you, if you like It Takes Two, Pop-U-Com might be a contender, man. It is so much fun. It is a co-op game, and I love, like, it was my star because of just like how you have to like make these colors work together, but you and your partner, you have to work together to get through these courses. It's so much fun. Pop-U-Com was probably my highlight. But Nintendo had the best booth, for sure. And finally, Patrick Cervantes, does anyone else think Concord could have been a tax write-off? I have seen... Sorry, so sick. Patrick, that's a good point. I did see, does anybody know... Why can't I not remember his name? Shoot, Luke Stevens? I think that's his name. He has like this business degree or whatever, so I like his take on some things, and he kind of like he gets into the nitty gritty that a lot of people don't really know. And he mentioned that that might have been a decision because if they act upon this Concord thing fast enough, then it could be a tax write-off. So that is a possibility. But yeah, that could have been the case. I am curious if anybody else thinks so, but he a robot man. Oh, the Pop-U-Com, yeah, they are kind of robot people, or the fan is, yeah. Folks, I need y'all to work together as we enter the weekend. And if you play, is anybody here live in the chat, or if you're listening to the replay, let me know. Are you playing Astrobot this weekend? Who's playing Astrobot this weekend? Because I'm one of them. I see Steffi saying, oh, that game did look fun to play. I saw it during an indie game event. Really? Cool. I hadn't seen it until I was at this show. And yeah. Slickstar96. Yep, playing right now. Dope. Also, I like that Ratchet and Clank profile picture, man. Spot on. I hope we get another one soon. See, that's what I mean. I hope Astrobot is successful and we get Ratchet soon. As we enter the fun weekend, though, with Astrobot and have some fun and relax, I would like to kick it off with our good game. And I see folks answering. Carolina, I'll play it if it comes to PC. That's a good question. If Astrobot will come to PC. That's a really good question. Because it celebrates the PlayStation like console so much. So would that be weird? That's a really good question, actually. I never even thought of that. Will Astrobot come to PC? When it's such like a PlayStation-centric game, like with how the story goes and whatnot. That's a good, yeah. But anyway, Steffi's going to play it tonight. C2 says put it on Switch. Yeah, maybe. I don't know if I don't think it would run on Switch, though. Maybe. Actually, maybe it would. But yeah, as we enter the fun weekend, I would like to rally you all together to play a rousing round of Codename Good Game. And what we're going to do, since, you know, we don't have a guest to kind of spectate or me to play, I do want to figure out a way that I can play with you. I'm going to use YouTube here. And what we're going to do, if it'll let me, ? There we go. I am going to constantly put up some polls. And these polls are going to say over or under. And you all collectively are going to have to vote. What is the answer? Over this number or under? So hypothetically, let's say, like, if I said, and I'm going to put up a poll now, if I said 2 + 2 is over or under 5, what's the answer? Put it in the chat now. Like not the chat, but like in the poll. 2 + 2 is over or under 5. If that is, this should be 100%. So yes, I see 3 votes saying under. That is correct. So that's how it works. Yes, 2 + 2 is 4. Therefore, it is under 5. This doesn't require you to have any degree. These are just going to be questions about things we talked about during this stream that you all collectively are going to have like 15 to 20 seconds to vote over or under. So my first question to you is, and I like my suspenseful music. There we go. How many studios are listed under PlayStation Studios officially today, including Bungie? Over or under 19? How many studios are listed under PlayStation Studios officially today, including Bungie? Over or under 19? So basically, how many studios does PlayStation have, including Bungie? Over or under 19? I'm going to give you a few more seconds. So far, it is pretty back and forth. It's pretty back and forth. It's pretty split right now. We got 8 votes in. Let's see if we can get to 10. Hopefully, we have 50 people watching. I would like to see. You don't. It's anonymous, so don't worry about being like pointed out. It's you guys collectively, so don't worry. But you guys are pretty split. We're gonna let this track finish. And actually, I'm not gonna. Can I stop it? Thank you. Okay. All right. With the 9 votes, I'm gonna go with that. 9 votes says under. How many PlayStation studios does PlayStation have, including Bungie officially? Over or under 19? The chat is saying 56%, just barely under. The answer is over. They have 20 studios on their website. 21 if you look at Wikipedia. But either way, it was 20 or more. So you guys got 1 wrong so far. You guys will hopefully get another 2 right. So that was the first one. The second one. How many total collectibles are in Astro's Playroom for the PS5? So the PS5 included game. Over or under 131? How many total collectibles, I'm putting up the poll now, are in Astro's Playroom for the PlayStation 5? Over or under 131? Yeah, we weren't counting. If it was counting closed ones, Carolina, it would have been over for sure. But yeah, no. For Astro's Playroom, how many total collectibles were there? Over or under 131? 131 collectibles. Dear God. How many total collectibles are in Astro's Playroom for the PS5? Over or under 131? I should put on some game show music. I'm going to put on the Nintendo Wii channel. I hope I don't get copyrighted. So far, the chat is saying is again split. It is again pretty split. It's pretty split. We have 18 people watching. Does there anybody else that want to bring us to 10 votes? Again, the question is for Astro's Playroom for the PS5, the game that was included in the system, how many total collectibles were there? Over or under 131? Our votes are at 56% for over. You guys have been split with all of these, man. So you guys said 55 or 56% over. The answer is 142. It was over. So yes, it's over. It's there was 46 artifacts and 96 puzzles. So that's a total of 142 artifacts. 142 artifacts. Yay. All right. Super wants to know what the large poster on your left is. On the left. This one. Warrior. It's the movie Warrior. Amazing. Steffi, I collected that many. Did you collect everything? No way. You're wild if you collected all that. That's insane. Question number 3. How many months? This has to do with the live service situation. How many months did Knockout City stay online before shutting down? If you don't remember Knockout City, it was by like EA published it, but it was like one of those indie like EA original games, and like it was basically dodgeball multiplayer. Yeah, it kind of had the aesthetic of Fortnite, but you threw dodgeballs. If it's ringing a bell, yeah, that was Knockout City. So, how many months did Knockout City stay online before shutting down? Over or under 25 months? I'll put up the poll now. How many months before Knockout City? How many months basically did Knockout City run total, like since launch before it got shut down? Over or under 25 months? 25 months. So far, you guys are 1-1. 1 win, 1 loss so far. How many months did Knockout City run before it got shut down? Over or under 25 months? That's just over 2 years. This is so far 100%. I'm gonna end it here because you guys are like all in on this. 100% of you said under. Holy crap. You guys are pretty confident this one. The answer is 24.5 months. You guys got it. Just barely though. Like, I can't believe you all just went, how come you all knew that? Like, were you guys just like, there's no way it ran 2 years. There's no way. How dare you guys? That's 1 for me, 2 for you. How did you guys know that? Like, I'm 2-3 now. What? How did you guys know that? Like, all of you said yes. Lucky guess? I don't know. Also, hi, Anna. That's wild. Okay. We have 2 more. Let's see if you can hold it. You're in the lead. Let's see if you take it home. All right. What was Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart's development budget? One of you guys had a profile picture. I hope that he's still around. Over or under 87 million. What was Ratchet & Clank's reportedly Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart's development budget. Over or under? Don't look it up. Don't cheat. 87 million. I want to put the poll. 87 million. Over or under 87 million for Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. You have 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Get those votes in. 3, 2. A lot of people are saying over with 10 votes. And I see, gotta guess here. Yeah, you just guess with these basically. And poll. All right. 70% of you said over. Over 87 million was Ratchet & Clank's development budget, reportedly. The answer is... it was 81 million. So it was under. It was under. So we're 2-2. It was reportedly, it was part of that Insomniac leak. Reportedly, like it just fell a little bit short of its development budget of 81 million. So it was under 87. So this is close. 2-2. Can you guys get the final one? Steffi, I guessed around 85, but still was over. Yeah. All right. Final one. 1/3 the one time I choose over. All right. How do you like this? Do you like this? I like this just like you guys collectively working together. All right. Can you do it? This is going to be interesting to see like who's been paying attention or who like... You will only know this one if you came to Twitch yesterday, if you listened to my Kibi briefing, which is free for everybody if you just follow on Patreon. This is for those, or follow me on Twitter and Instagram. This is dependent on you knowing me. So here you go for the last question. How many games did I play at PAX West 2024? Over or under 6? How many games did I play at PAX West? Over or under 6? I like this. Like Steffi has like a thinking thing. Over or under 6 games? Let's see who was paying attention to my social media and my Instagrams. And I went live also last Friday. I did with my phone. I shared a little. I gave you some nuggets during this stream that maybe gave you clues. How many? The final question: how many games did I play at PAX West 2024? Over or under 6? You guys are split 50-50. You guys are split. You have to. If it's not a definitive answer, you don't get it. You have to be one way or the other. So. Who's gonna break it? Where's the extra votes? We need, because otherwise you don't get it and we just don't have a victor. We're stuck at 50-50. That's what's happening. If you're listening to the replay on Spotify, the chat right now is like very split. And the definitive vote, we have 9 votes. It's an odd number. You said with 9 votes. 55% said over. The answer is... NANI? I played 10 games. It is over! Good job. You guys won. You guys won. Yes, I played 4 games at Nintendo's booth. I played that PokeCom game, so that's 5. I played basically everything at Bandai Namco's booth with Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, Little Nightmares 3, and there was this game from an Xbox partner preview, so that was 3. And I played like 2 indie games. I can't remember the names of them, honestly. I have them here somewhere. So I played a total of 10 games. So it was indeed over, which you got. Whoever that last vote was that broke it, you did it. You did it. You took everybody home. So good job. You get another clap for that. All right. A lot more than I expected, honestly. Me too, Supertone. I have to admit, if it wasn't for the Nintendo booth, it would have been a lot less. But that Nintendo booth, I got to play like 4 games all at once. So I was thinking 6.5. Yeah. But yeah, guys, that is our episode of Codename Good Game this week. And I hope you had a blast. I would like to very much shout out if you ever want to have like just a one-on-one talk with me about Astrobot or Outer Wilds or whatever, you can do that as the top like patrons of my community. That's a shout to Capone and Steffi. Those are the VIP patrons. I love you both. Thank you so much for sponsoring the channel. But also higher tier patrons like Aaron Ninja, Fox, Joey, and Mads. You guys are the best. And everybody else at Patreon. I really appreciate you. But you can follow there for free to just get free weekly podcasts I basically do there that are usually around like 15 to 30 minutes. But I hope this week's episode of Codename Good Game was great and that you have a good time. And I hope to see you next week for some content. Everything should hopefully be back to normal. Hopefully I am over this sickness that I've had. I felt good about the show, and I hope you enjoyed listening. And I really look forward to hearing more of your thoughts about the games you love. So, be geek, be awesome. And I will speculate with you later. Peace. If I can find the thumbnail. There it is.